all know that classes were canceled very quickly in the middle of March, and that very shortly after that, the Minister of Education, even though she said that all of the funding was going to stay in place, cut more than $120 million from the education budget and resulted in layoffs of more than 20,000 educational staff. And we've had since then to prepare for what reopening should be like. But it seems that Adriana LaGrange, Jason Kenney, and the UCP have done little to nothing to prepare as a province. We know that many local school authorities are doing everything they can within their local authority, but definitely we've been lacking significantly in terms of provincial leadership. And what's happened is that we will be sending students back into schools this fall in just a week or two in situations that are far from ideal. We will have fewer teachers, fewer educational support staff, and more kids coming to school, which would be bad enough educationally. We know that that is not something that we'd be advocating for, classes of 30 plus. But this year it's not just bad educationally, it's also dangerous and a concern for me and for many Albertans in terms of public health.
I am a proud music teacher at an elementary school in Calgary. I am here today because the school reentry plan is inadequate and will not keep students, school staff, teachers, and families safe in September. I know teachers, school staff, and parents throughout Alberta share my concerns, and because of this, we have to speak up. Albertans are more than willing to lend a helping hand. We saw that during the 2013 floods, and we could see this generosity offered again if this government is willing to collaborate with our communities. We are better together, and our government needs to lead by that example.
What we've looked at is other jurisdictions that have been able to do it, and growing up in Alberta, I know that even in the small town I lived in, we had a senior center, we had a drop and rec center for youth, we had an ag society building, we had 3 churches. So there are additional spaces available in most communities throughout our province, but the province hasn't even tried. They just keep making excuses. They say they can't build that many schools. But we know that this isn't a normal time, and it does require a little extra work to be able to keep kids safe, but we think they're worth it. We think that this spacing is far more ideal than what we're seeing pictures of on the internet all around Alberta as teachers return to school. And I know here in Calgary, as many head back tomorrow for their first official day, they're going to be struggling to try to configure their classrooms in a way to give minimal space, which doesn't account for the 2 meters of distancing. The money should have been out the door back when the government was getting ready to reopen schools months ago. They should have been making a plan, the provincial government, on how they were going to do this safely. I'm grateful that we have at least some money coming. It's definitely, I don't think it's enough, and I guess that'll be up to Albertans to determine. But starting with a per pupil grant would be a great way to do it, to get into the hands, because we already give many grants out through Alberta Education that are based on how many students you have in each of your school authorities. So that's the fastest way to get money out. From watching the press conference this morning, it sounds like reporting on how that money is spent will be done in December before the second allotment of funds are released. So I would say if I was Education Minister right now, I'd be saying let's get this money out the door, let's increase the per pupil grant, let's make it specific to reporting back on what people have done as it relates to COVID and the 15 recommendations that we have in our report.